Hi, welcome to the PhD Journey Unplugged Podcast. I'm Dr. Sarah Gordon, and I'm joined with my friend, Dr. Rehan Tahir. Welcome
Hi
back,
there.
Doctor.
Thank you. Welcome. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, I love having you on the show. We've done a couple episodes together already,
Yep.
and when I was thinking about wrapping up the year and how I wanted that to look for 2025, because this is a big day. This is episode 40.
I know.
And
Congratulations. That's awesome. Huge
thank you.
milestone.
Thank you. And I wanted you on. I wanted you on. I wanted to hear some of your wisdoms and let people kind of, hear what you have to say. You have great depth and wisdom in the, in our space, health and human performance space. So welcome back.
Appreciate
And
it. Thank you.
here we are.
I know. It's almost 2026. We got a few fleeting hours left of 2025. I can't believe it. This year has just flown. You and I were briefly speaking about this before we jumped on here, and it's like, the amount of milestones that we were able to hit this year, it still seems like a blur for me. I don't know about it. I'm sure it is for you as well, but it's all a blur, and I'm still trying to kind of absorb and digest it all.
Well, uh, before we just started, I used this term, a high growth year. And I saw that recently. I didn't coin it. And I thought about that. And because some years are a little bit more kind of slow and steady. You're kind of in a routine. I mean, we're always within a growth mindset. But some
Sure.
years you're really pushing through a lot of like achievement, and milestones and steps and getting your doctorate degree. And I'm sure it's like this with a lot of different, goals that people are working towards. There are so many steps involved, right? And every time you finish a step, there's another step and another step. And it just felt like well, I'll just be honest with my listeners. I got through it, but by the end of it, I was burnt out.
Yeah.
So that happened this year. Total
Yep.
burnout.
I mean, I'm in the same boat, and I had to come to a period of, there was really for me, no celebration when I was done. It was just sort of I hit a milestone and great, and because of the burnout, and it wasn't just the doctoral program. I mean, working a full-time job for many of us that have to do that as well concurrently, family stuff, personal
Right.
stuff, societal things that come up. It can be overwhelming, and I just said, I need to take some time and decompress and
Hmm.
reflect
Hmm.
and really just sort of savor the moment. And so I was, grateful and privileged enough to take a few weeks off here at the end of the year and really try to just do that. And a lot of it's been boring, I have to admit. It's not like I've done a lot of fun and interesting things. I mean, maybe the most, but that's okay. I just wanted that time to myself to be bored, to be able to kind of um, digest and think and maybe have a vision for the future. And that's what I was hoping to talk a little bit about today is, what does that mean? Because I think all of us sometimes get caught up in the day-to-day, like you said, all the milestones, whatever that may be for someone, whether it's personal milestones or professional milestones. And, sometimes it's very difficult to stop and smell the roses. And that you hear that a lot, enjoy the
Hmm.
process. Yeah, you should try to, but not
It's
always possible, right?
right.
So when do you get a chance to think about and maybe congratulate yourself and pat yourself on the back?
Yeah, and I kind of finished with this expectation that I was supposed to go immediately into something else,
Yeah,
right? And I think that 5 years of this PhD journey, more than other periods of my life, I mean, I focus on that because that's kind of the platform. That was the vision for the podcast, is to use the lessons and the experiences in that journey to start to help other people working towards goals in their life. For me, it felt like a level of processing, cognitively processing
yeah,
that, and I mean, I'm going to say a statement but it really felt this way for me. It felt like I was in constant cognitive overload
yeah,
for a long time. And I think, and I could almost even say equals. cognitive stress and stress because life doesn't like if you have the luxury to just focus on one goal and that's it. That's amazing. But for most of us, we have lots of things going on around
I know.
that path. And if you don't learn to take care of your health, I mean, this is the whole reason for the podcast. Like, I lost my health in it at some
Yep.
point. And if you don't learn to take care of your health and set some boundaries and learn how to, I know it sounds so cliche, but balance it all. It's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard. And I mean, you and I, we've shared, we'll be candid about it. We both did suffer burnout from it. But
Oh
I'm
yeah.
curious, how did you know? I'm just curious, how did you know to help other people? How do you know you were at that point? How do you even know now, like you needed to pull back and take care of yourself?
Well, I mean, there's obviously, some signs that I'm familiar with because I've gone through major burnout in the past, many years ago, which affected my life for several years, unfortunately. And at that time, I had to learn how to put in boundaries, right? And so, um, even then, undertaking a huge effort and a huge goal like this, something like this would, still, you can put in boundaries, but that doesn't guarantee you're going to be successful because there are other things that sometimes you just have to do. And so I know I was burned out, probably a couple of years into it with COVID and everything else that was happening. And it was
Mhm.
just obviously a whirlwind for the world globally, and everyone had to feel
Mhm.
that pain. But I just sort of had to put my nose down and push through it. I think you might find this funny. I had a dream about a week ago, and in that dream, I was freaking out because I had an assignment due. Something was due for me for a class, which had no relevance because we're not taking classes. But I had this assignment due for a class that I hadn't been attending, and so I was freaking out in my dream about not having that assignment done, and I was going to fail the class. So it's still that processing that we have to go through, right? Of trying to understand and have our brain and our subconscious sort of work through, you know, um, some of that stress. And I think that happens with a lot of people, is how do we process that stress that might be on our minds for a long period of time, whether that's 3 months, 6 months, a year, or longer. I think that's the human dilemma, really.
Well, so let me ask you this, because if I go back to like the first episode on this podcast and the show, I think about those early episodes and even the titles, they're interesting to go back and listen to. The mental toll, the physical toll. Um, I mean, sleep. I mean, I think a huge factor for me was just literally lack of sleep. Was starting assignments and working towards things at night when the house was quiet, when the
Yeah.
responsibilities of the day settled down, and then I could focus. And I remember thinking to myself, gosh, I really wish I just had more time to sit in a library and just be a PhD student. So I think for me, one of the contributing factors was just lack of sleep. And I don't really know how to teach people besides just saying whatever you can do, whether it's a nap here or there or, learning to say no to social activities because you got to get sleep more.
Yeah.
How do we teach people based on that lesson? Because that was a big one for me,
Yeah.
contributing to everything, lack of sleep.
And I think maybe when I talked about my boundaries that I've had to learn over the years to set for myself, I think maybe that's part of it, and why maybe I did not experience burnout to a severe degree, thankfully. Yeah, I was burned out and it was stressed out at periods, but I was able to function, thankfully. And I think that's because I do have boundaries. I did set the stage with my personal relationships, for example, even professionally, having an understanding team and an understanding boss who understood that I had this huge personal milestone that I was working on, obviously in my off time, not during work hours, but still knowing that I had another 20 to 30 hours or sometimes more extra beyond my normal day job.
Yeah.
And thankfully, they were very compassionate about that. So I think having that awareness and having people understand,
Okay.
hey, this is what I'm going through, and this is what I'm working toward. It's important to me. And I think most people, for the most part, do understand, especially people that care about, someone and love them and want them
Mhm.
to succeed. there are always going to be some detractors who probably look to put some more obstacles in someone's way, but can't do anything about them. But you do have to be honest with yourself, honest with what you can and can't do. And I think I was, for nothing else, I think I was really, really good at doing that. Is to say, you know what, I'm sorry, I just can't do this right now, or this is not something that I feel comfortable taking on, and I'm gonna have to just shelf this for a while. And most times people are cool with that, or sometimes I have to be, learn how to be cool with that myself.
That's a strong statement. I feel like that's a strategy that we could teach people because right now we're reflecting kind of on the experience and the lessons learned, and then I'd love to pivot to, what you think, what the vision looks
Sure.
like. But, setting boundaries, okay? These are strategies for success. And if they're
Hmm.
uncomfortable at first, it's most likely because you probably need to learn the strategy. I learned that for myself. When something feels uncomfortable, it's because you're learning how to do it, right? It's just like
Yeah.
learning. You fumble when you learn. So learning to set boundaries, learning to say no, it might not feel very comfortable at first, but trust me, because I learned it from myself. And Rehan just said it. When you do that for yourself, it gives you some peace, and it keeps
Yeah.
you on a path towards success and achieving your goals. So I think
Yeah.
that's really important um, point to make. Okay, so now let's talk about. So that would be, I guess, perhaps our mental health.
Yeah.
So how did
And
you manage? Go ahead.
no, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say, I mean, I think I think it needs to be said that I think a lot of times putting boundaries in place is challenging because I think we don't want to face conflict, right?
Right.
We
Yes.
don't want people to think negatively of us or have a different opinion of us. But at the same time, if you have to have a high opinion of yourself and you have to be able to protect yourself first. You can't
Hmm.
help others if you can't help yourself. I mean, I'm a big believer in that.
It's true.
So if it's protecting your health mentally, physically, etc., we all still are going to have those challenges. I mean, I had my physical health kind of dwindle down over the course of 5 years.
That's where I was heading. Physical
Yeah,
health.
and so I had to take a step back when I was all said and done and said, okay, now I need to get back in shape, especially if I want to
Mhm.
start resuming coaching and taking on people and helping them with their own fitness. I can't do that if I'm suffering myself. I have to be able to take care of myself first. And not only that, demonstrate that, hey, maybe I do have a little bit of knowledge here and I can share it with others. But first and foremost, I can't help anyone if I can't be in a good spot myself.
I mean, it's 100% true, and it's so interesting. My experiences with it, physical activity. I mean, I guess we should, if you're listening to us for the first time, first I highly encourage you to go back and listen to our previous episodes together. But we have our doctorates in health and human performance. They're leadership degrees in health promotion, in health and human performance. So we firmly believe that physical activity is, I would say, essential in so many
Mhm.
ways. Okay, for your health, for your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, just how you manage your life. And so, it for me, it's a priority. For Rehan, it's a priority. In the doctoral journey, there were days that the last thing I ever wanted to do because you're just fatigued. I mean, you're just training hard. You're training,
Mhm.
like think about football players. They go to training camps, they're tired. We were
Yeah.
training our brain for like years. But anyhow, I would drag myself to the pool and I would just say, and if this helps you, anybody listening today, don't think of something like a training session as like something big when you're exhausted or feeling like you don't have time for it. Just get there. Just get there and do something. Something is better than nothing. And the reason I say that is because once you get there, you kind of find that it just makes you feel so great that sometimes I would have like the best workouts
Hmm.
just by in my mind saying, okay, Sarah, just get in the pool, maybe swim, you know, a 500. You don't need to do like, huge yardage. Just do something. I come out and doing 3,000 yards. I mean, it's amazing how it's like, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe you can say it more
No, I mean,
scientifically than
this is
me.
I think what you're saying is, obviously has a lot of truth into it, and it's coming from a place of authenticity. It's a matter of staying consistent, and I think sometimes that's the challenge for most people. I think, during our research, I don't know if you had the same experience, but I know that, for my participants in the research that I conducted, everyone understood the benefits. And I think I can say that generally, but everyone really
Yeah.
understood exercise is good for you. No
Right.
one
We all
disputed
know
that.
that.
No one disputes that exercise is good for you.
However,
Right? What are
yes.
those roadblocks, or what are those that mental model that we tell ourselves? Well, I'm very, very busy and I work X amount of hours and I'm doing this PhD program and I got a lot of mental models that kind of got in my way. And I
Mhm.
kind of gave myself permission, so to speak, and maybe that was a boundary that I put in place for myself was, my physical health might have to take a little bit of a back seat here for a little bit. Not to say that I, you know, liked that or that it was optimal. And I'm sure that there are people out there that could probably power through it and still succeed in that area. But for me personally, something had to give, and that's what I chose to let give for a little bit.
That was like the words are just coming out of my mouth. Something has to give because
Yeah.
if you don't, if something, well, you'll break. You'll break in some way,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So
we don't
despite,
want
yeah,
that. We don't want that. That the whole
no,
point of this show is like we don't want people to get to that point. We want you to listen to our experiences and work with somebody, work with a counselor, a friend, a coach,
right.
somebody that went is going through a similar experience. It's not just a PhD journey, it's just lots of journeys. Talk to people who have experience, who maybe are a little bit ahead of you, and ask for help. I mean, that's where
That's
you
it. I mean,
learn, that's where you grow, let yourself be a little vulnerable. We're not
well,
we're not perfect human beings.
no, I think we're bombarded with so many decisions that we have to make every day. The electronic, noise that we have to deal with every day, work, etc. Sometimes it's just like one more decision that I have to think about, or one more thing I have to think about, and that's where someone can, maybe an outside person can help. Can they help you systematize
Mhm.
something in a way that makes it less burdensome, that kind of mental strain or that mental processing they have to think about, being lost about a new topic. Yeah, a coach or someone like a therapist or a counselor
Mhm.
sometimes can put it, in the right framework to help you kind of, you know, work through it in a more streamlined way, I guess.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I don't know if you're like this, but sometimes I think, oh no, I know what I need. Sometimes I have very tunnel vision,
Yeah.
and I know what works for me. I know what I need. And then if you allow yourself to be open to learning from other people, you can see things in a different way that can actually help you grow. So it's really, I'm learning, I don't know everything, and so trust other people, and you'll learn and you'll grow in that process.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Why reinvent the wheel if you don't have to, right?
hmm well, what a year. I mean, another thing for me coming out of last year, the mental toll, the physical toll,
Mhm.
was the self-imposed expectations that you get your degree and you should be immediately doing something like this or that and and putting that pressure on myself and also not being totally comfortable with the new title.
Interesting. Tell us more about that. How has that impacted you, that title?
Because for 5 years so if you go to get your PhD, obviously it's like 1% of the population. I think worldwide, maybe internationally, it might be a little more or less, but it's not a huge percentage of the population have a doctorate degree. And so you're going into something that's kind of unique. And when you get accepted, and I was kind of, I was kind of excited to be on that journey for myself. Then you're working at it. You're working to towards that goal. And in the beginning, there was a lot of pressure, like to compare myself to peers. when you read people's work and they just, you just,
Yeah,
it's academics is competitive.
sure.
Then at some point I said, okay, wait a second. You're here for yourself. Let that go. And when I did, I started to enjoy it, enjoy the learning, even though it was hard, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. Then I crossed the finish line and I'm like, oh, I'm Dr. Gordon. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? You know?
Yeah,
And growing into that title, and Dr. Benavides was on 2 episodes ago. He made a great point. I really strongly suggest. We had a lot of technical problems in that episode, but we worked through it. By the end, it was fine. But he made a great point. He said, when you get that degree and you get that title, there comes a level of responsibility, ethical responsibility, and responsibility understanding that it's really something now to give back to other people because we're health promotion experts,
yeah.
in health and human performance. And so I thought that was great. And so I now kind of have a much different, I had a little bit of imposter syndrome. You and I have talked about it in the past. We've taken it, we've thrown it away. We are emerging scholars. And now I look at it as a responsibility to use everything I've learned academically, the research, cumulatively in my professional career, and take my responsibility seriously in trying to help other people live their best lives and be
Yeah.
ethical and mindful about how I'm doing that.
I think that's a very well said statement. And I think that speaks to, I think, the original intention of doing a program like this in the first place. I would hope for most of us is how do we give back and how do we contribute to this field? This has been a field that I've been involved in off and on for 25 years and coaching and training others, and I love it and I love to do it. It's not something I've always done full time, but it's something that I've always had a connection to. And being able to see people achieve their goals and learn things in a way that kind of cuts out all the fluff and the myths and the fads that are out there, I think is for me very important because there's a lot of garbage out there. There's a lot of junk.
A
Um,
lot of information, and I
yeah,
think there's a lot of confusion.
yeah,
And now, honestly, you can go on ChatGPT and put something in there and it can give you a workout plan. There's tremendous amount of information, but I don't necessarily think that we've solved a lot of the chronic
no,
illness problems, And
no.
so what does that mean? What does that mean? It means, for me, it means that our voices matter, that in the health promotion space, our voices need to grow, and we need to use platforms like this to teach people, number one, have some grace for yourself. Be kind to yourself. We're all trying to do the best we can every day, and especially at the end of the year, if the year didn't go the way if you're ending it the year not where you kind of wanted yourself to be in terms of your health and your wellness, don't beat yourself up. You know, just take small steps, baby steps.
It's never too late. Never too late.
Yeah, it's never too late. And listen to people like Dr. Tahir and myself because we've been through it and we survived and we're still
Yep.
smiling.
I had mentioned to you before that I took a few weeks off, right? And I kind of had a chance to level set my own kind of what's next, if you will. Like, what
Right.
does this all mean? Like, how am I going to
Excuse me.
approach 2026 with this new credential, but also be able to give back? And something kept coming up as I've had a very, very boring 3 or 4 weeks, which have been wonderful. I will take it. Uh, a few years ago, I came across Henry Ford and his vision for Ford when it was early on. I don't know if you've seen that or if you've come across it.
Was there a documentary? I feel like I might have watched a show about that, but go ahead.
I'm not sure about a documentary, but
It
I did come across this in a leadership conference a few years ago.
actually it was the Krispy Kreme founder.
Ah, okay.
I don't remember the name of that show, but I wonder if it's a similar, entrepreneurial story. It was a really great story. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, it kind of came up to the concept of having a vision. And I think this leads into the 2026 goals that everyone is going
Mhm.
to start to come up with or have already come up with. And Henry Ford had this vision about how to democratize the automobile early on. And so, he basically wanted to build this motor car for the masses. That was his vision. He wanted to make it affordable. He wanted people to have this automobile to go out and have something for their families to go out and enjoy life and enjoy nature. I'm paraphrasing, so anyone can
Hmm.
go look that up. And ultimately, he also said that if I gave people, or if I asked people what they had wanted, they would have just asked for faster horses. And so that kind of, you have to think
Oh,
about that for a moment because it's like when you're coming up with a goal, what are you
that's
looking to do?
that's
Right?
incredible because
Right.
they don't know. They
They
didn't
don't
they
know.
didn't have the vision.
So if
Huh.
someone says, I want to lose 10 pounds, that's great. That's a great goal. What outcome are you looking for? What does that mean for your life in terms of vision? So if I lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds, that's great. Am I looking for better health markers? Am I looking for lowered incidences of diabetes, high blood pressure, other types of comorbidities? Am I trying to solve there? Does someone want to do it for aesthetics and look a certain way? Whatever their outcomes are that they're looking for, you still need to take that a little bit of a step further. What does that mean for your life? What's that vision for your life? Is that going to give you something different? Is that going to lead to happiness? So I think these goals that we talk about for
Hmm.
2026, we have to think about them in stages. That's great to have some goals. Maybe think about what are those outcomes that you're hoping to get from that. And beyond that, how does that lead into a vision for your life? What are you hoping to accomplish and what does that dream look like for you? So I guess my parting words would be for folks for 2026 is think big, think about in your mind's eye what you really, really want out of your life, and then start to back into some of those goals and some of those outcomes, and maybe you'll find a little bit more clarity there.
That's so true. I've been doing this 10-day word countdown on my social media platform on Instagram. It's Dr. Sarah Gordon. If you want to go back, I woke up one morning, I was like, "Oh, this would be fun. I should do a countdown to the new year." I don't know. It was like a dream. I woke up and I was like, and I wrote down all the words. I had a notebook next to my bed and I wrote them all down and just like came to me. And then I looked at the calendar. I was like, oh my gosh, today's the 10th day. This really could work, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And so I won't go through all the words right now, but today's word, today was the last day because it's the 31st, New Year's Eve tonight. And today's word was was today's word. I'm blanking.
Let's check it out. Let's look at it. Let's give them.
This is because I was out in the cold at 6:30 a.m. this morning, and I'm like fried.
Let's go
Renewal.
to
Renewal.
renewal. Okay, there you go.
Okay. So renewal is not goal setting per se. Renewal gives you the opportunity to pause, to take a moment and to reflect, like you were just saying, and to visualize
Yeah,
what you want for your life and how do you get there. The goals are the action steps to get you there. And you
right.
can write those down. But the vision and a sense of renewal is allowing yourself the grace of time to just like you did the last 3 weeks. And you look fantastic, by the way. You look
Thank
rested
you.
and healthy and to take some time and just to let your mind wander a little bit and see you know what great things um you're able to come up with for yourself. So I think that's really important.
Awesome. I,
I
I
think I have
agree.
cold
And
brain. I think I have brain freeze from the cold. It
no,
was like
you're,
20 degrees this morning,
oh my
snowing.
gosh.
It was crazy.
And you were swim. See, folks, Dr. Gordon was out there in the frigid temperatures, braving the cold water to get in a swim in. Look at that.
No, no, not the swim, the
Oh, is this?
recording. No.
Oh,
Oh
gotcha. Okay.
no. Well, I might do that with the wetsuit. I am kind of crazy that way, but I was
Nice.
braving the cold this morning doing a social media post.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The social media post.
It was
So,
fun. I had a lot of fun doing it. I really did. It helped me kind of be introspective about this past year for myself. But what were you going to say?
well, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I was just curious if you're gonna, do you have any thoughts about 2026 for your podcast? Is there anything that you want the listeners to have a little bit of a teaser for?
Well, I think that's a great question.
Or is it too early? I don't want to put you on the spot.
You know, it's so interesting to me because when I got my doctorate, I really felt like, oh, now I'm supposed to go do this. But then I was like, but I don't really know where I want to go as far as, a university and a research team. And I know, I guess we should mention, when you said when you think about your health goals, Dr. Tahir and I both did research looking at perspectives of successful aging. So for me, I feel like one of the most important aspects of physical activity and taking care of your mental health, your physical health, your relationships in your lives is for successful aging, is for quality of life as you age. So our research, we should we should talk about it on a future podcast, really dive into our
Yeah.
research. We haven't had a chance to do that. We did very different studies, but with similar um, age groups,
Mhm.
people, and we found really interesting things about successful aging. So I just wanted to go back and say that's one of the goals I think for why physical activity is so important in your lives is because it helps you with aging. There's so
Mhm.
much randomness in the world, things that we can't control, but we can control stretching and exercising and strength training, and it can help with aging. So I would like to continue talking about that in 2026 for sure. And the podcast, really was based on my experiences. How can I help other people so they don't have to necessarily struggle? I don't know. I say that. I think you do have to struggle a bit. That's where you learn and you grow. You got to do the
Yeah.
hard work. Nobody can do it for you. But you
Right.
can listen to us and learn from our experiences. And it just kind of, I love doing this. I enjoy it. I enjoy the guests. I see 2026 as an opportunity to have more guests and to learn. I learn every time people such as yourself come on and talk. You're smart and you have wisdom, and I learn and I enjoy it. So that I would like to grow in that way. And um, I don't know, just keep going with it.
Awesome.
So get
Yeah.
more professional with it. Learn the equipment, learn the editing. I've been getting in CapCut a little bit and starting to learn that, but there's a lot to it. So
There is, and I just want to commend you. I mean, 40 episodes is huge. It's
thank you.
huge. And I've watched obviously different points during the year, different episodes and being a participant in some of them as well. And you kind of get your bearings a little bit. And for me, I'm the kind of person I have a lot of I don't know if you call it stage fright, but I'm very uncomfortable with hearing my own voice and seeing myself on pictures and videos. So for me, it's outside of my comfort zone, and I can only imagine having to go and produce all of this and come up with content and guests. And so just taking a step back and congratulating you.
Thank you.
I think you should definitely pat yourself on the back and kind of digest that milestone beyond the PhD. This is huge. This is a big deal.
Thank you. I kind of I did this in my pause. I really
Yeah.
didn't know what I wanted to do with the degree right away. And
Yeah.
so I said, well, this is something you can control. Now, here's a lesson. Maybe this is a lesson for our listeners. A lot of things are outside of our control, but some things, because I started sending out resumes and all that kind of stuff. And, I went back to get my PhD. I'm in my 50s. So when I graduated, I don't have years of published work, right? I
Hmm.
went back as an older student. And so the reality of the academic world is, it just didn't have that portfolio because I went back at an older age. So that's a challenge, but slowly and surely that's changing. So I thought, well, let me just be creative. I have a marketing background and let me just start here and I have control over this. And
Yeah.
so here we are. And I've loved it. I've loved the guests and yeah, I'm just looking forward to keep going and
Awesome.
growing. So thank you. And thank you for being a part of it. And thank you for being here on the last day of the
I know.
2025.
Thank you. And I again, I look forward to more episodes. Happy to come back anytime. I really think that, wishing well for your listeners, for friends and family, for colleagues. and also just in general. I think 2026. I think the last few years just globally have been really rough.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the
Yeah,
world we cannot control, unfortunately, and
yeah,
we have to navigate it and we have to learn how to stay positive in it,
right.
right? There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of hard, serious stuff, right? And so much, some of it's just outside of our control.
Yeah,
And,
and
if you're one of these people who just, let's just say, I'm not saying anything about the news, but I'm just saying if you're watching it and consuming it and you're finding that you're physically getting sick and stressed and you're like, turn it off and go for a walk, go for a nature walk. Don't let the world steal your health and your,
right.
your well-being. What do you
The
think
best thing
about?
well, the best thing I did was just get rid of my TV in terms of TV service, like broadcast channels. I don't watch the news. I mean, I stay up to date with current events in a very high level sort of way, but yeah, I mean, just sitting there kind of glued to the TV watching news day in, day out, that could be very, very detrimental, I think.
Hmm,
And it's like you said, we don't control any of this at an individual level, but we do have to try to remain optimistic. And that's really what I hope and wish for 2026 is a lot more peace and happiness for everyone in a small
definitely.
way. Hopefully, we just throw out some good vibes out there and makes a small difference. But that's really what I'm hoping for everyone.
And I would like to add that, when Dr. Tahir and I talk, we're talking based on our experiences, but we know the research and we know physiologically, and we haven't really dived into the physiology, the exercise science, the physiology behind some of these topics that we cover. And I would like to do that, go a little bit deeper in science in 2026. So, you know, there when you're stressed for long periods of time, there's changes that are happening physiologically. I don't think most people go around life thinking about what's going on the cellular level within their body. What's
Hmm.
going on, within neuroscience and all the different systems in your body. And if you have too much caffeine, what does it do to this system? And if you have too much sugar, what does it do to this system? And all these things are going on internally
Hmm.
in our body that impacts our behavior, our moods, everything. And so I think it's important to educate about that and talk about the science. And you and I briefly on our last episode together, we talked about kind of, where the weight loss, and
Yeah,
that's headed because the research is coming out and it's scary.
yeah.
So that is the goal for 2026 to educate people a little bit more about like what is actually going on physiologically within your body, the neuromuscular system, the cardiovascular system, you know.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great. I think that adding some of that educational aspect
Yeah.
to some of the whys. I mean, and maybe some folks really are into that and others aren't. But I think ultimately we are all looking for the same thing, which is how do we improve our quality of life at any age,
Hmm.
whether we're younger or older, or uh, and that's a big part of the research that I think we both did was,
Hmm.
getting older is going to happen to many of us. Hopefully,
Hopefully
we
we're
want to see
lucky.
that through, right?
Yes.
Um, it's a badge of honor, but at the same time, we have to be prepared for it. And how do we prepare for it? What are those things that we can do today to help prepare for that ease of transition and make sure that we have a good sound quality of life? And there's a lot of things that can be done.
It's so true. Um, so let me ask you this. First of all, I would love to have you on regularly in the new year, so we'll talk about that offline.
Awesome. Sure.
And just take a second and pause for a second and just think about the whole experience for yourself. And we've touched on the mental, the physical. I mean, is there anything else that you would like to share? And not to put you on the spot, but anything that you learned, any wisdom, um, anything else that you would like to share from your PhD journey?
Ah, well, yeah, deep breath. Let me think. That's a good
Yeah,
question.
take your time.
Um, I think that in many ways, for me, it was a culmination of many years of challenges beyond the start of the PhD program. And I think I touched upon this in the last episode, is I had some major health issues that set my goals back many years ago. And so for me, what I learned was, number one, life isn't, we're talking about exercise. It's never too late to do any of these big goals that you have in mind, whether that's exercise, whether that's anything. If someone's in their 30s or 40s or 50s and they want to go back to medical school, for example, well, it's probably not too late. I mean, it's not going
Right.
to necessarily be easy or not filled with challenges, but if that's really what your heart wants to do, then I would say go for it. So,
Mhm.
set your heart on something, follow through with it, and you'll be surprised. You'll surprise yourself, I'm sure, in many ways. Forget what other people think. Do what you think your heart wants.
And that, you just reminded me, I was going to say this earlier and it kind of slipped my mind. So tell me what you think about this. It changed me.
Yeah,
The hard changed me in a good way. When you're going through it and if you equate it to climbing mountains, right? It feels hard that the higher you get, the less, when you go higher up in altitude, there's less oxygen, you know,
right. Yeah.
and it feels harder. But you keep going. Sometimes you got to slow down. You got to go a little bit more slow and steady. You got to pace yourself to get to the top. And then you get there. And then you have your climb down and and it starts. And I think you and I are on our descent right now. We are since we graduate May and June timeframe, been learning to kind of breathe and come down from the intensity and start to look around and how to, make meaning out of it and use
Hmm.
it to help other people and to move forward. And so when you get down that first mountain and you look back, you're a changed person
Yeah, most
for the
definitely.
better. And there's going to be other mountains. I mean, and there are going to be some that we choose and some that we don't. And so I think that's a really important lesson I would like to share as we close out 2025 is that don't give up on that climb. There's people who are ahead of you that can help you take that next step to the top.
Hmm.
And then always be mindful of those who are behind you and reach out to help them take that next step to the top. Not only is it fulfilling, but it's just it's a human thing to do. It's a nice thing to help people, to be kind to people. And so if you climb your mountain with that mindset, when you get over it, you not only are you gonna feel great success, it's gonna change you in such a powerful way. I could never go back to the person I was August 2020.
Yeah,
There's no way. There's just too many, too many things, too many lessons. So that's my great Doctor of Philosophy wrap up for 2025.
that's awesome.
I did send you a meme and I can't say it online, but but I said, basically take all the and throw it away and move forward and let's move into 2026 with our open hearts and enthusiasm and recognize that having your health, I say it all the time, having your health is your wealth. I mean, I know it's cliche, but without your health, it doesn't really matter. You don't want to, you want to take steps in your life to live the best life that you can in terms of good health.
Well said. I don't think I could say it any better. That's perfect. That's a great wish for 2026.
All right. Well, uh, this is bittersweet, but that's okay. This was year one. This wasn't even a full year. This is 7 months. Podcast has been, it's
Right?
a baby. It's 7 months old. It's just crawling. What does
Sit, sit. What's that?
what does a 7 month old do?
You know what? Yeah, I think they're probably crawling by that time and
Okay.
getting into trouble, and that's kind of where you're at. You're going to start getting in a little bit of trouble and making some waves, hopefully, in the coming 2026 with
Uh,
this, with the podcast and with educating and
yeah.
helping others. I think that's the goal.
Yeah, I think that we talked about, and I think Dr. Benavides said it too, like, now getting out there, and I think you've actually had the opportunity going to conferences and talking about our
Right.
research,
Yeah.
and because we found some interesting things, and now it's time to get out there and share about that too. So that's a goal.
Yeah. I think conferences would be a great
Mhm.
start. There's a
Mhm.
couple that I missed opportunity this year that I'd like to do next year. Publish, the research in
Mhm.
a formatted way for some of the journal articles, excuse me, the journals are out there. Publish some of this research there would be helpful and I think valuable. So there's some milestones that I think are still left to do for the coming year.
Yeah, and just one last thought before we wrap up. I think it's okay to be humble and say that we are still kind of fumbling with it, that we are like you're watching and you're listening to two people that we're still we're growing. We're always going to have a growth mindset. And so I think if you look at life that way, it's exciting and it's rewarding. And we're still on that journey. It's not done. So
Nope.
that's how I think I'll leave it for myself.
Gotta seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. So
Yes.
until keep chugging along and keep learning new things. I think that's one of the joys of life for me personally.
All right. Well, as always, we are so grateful that you've taken the time to listen to us today on the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. We are excited to move into 2026 and continue to educate and motivate within the health promotion space as health promotion leaders. And we wish everybody all the best tonight on New Year's Eve. Please be safe and let's go get 26. Let's go after it.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Happy New Year to all, and yeah, be safe, please.
Okay, everybody. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Tahir, for being on this journey with me.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, bye, everybody.